all over having good vision control. Started saying it at the end of last split, and it's really coming to fruition for all teams of this split, as it just seems like vision seems to be that thing you want. Kale going to be banned out first, will not go to Zion or Shifter to Cloud9. Good pick for him.
It makes a lot of sense. They can use the quirky missile poke as much as they want. Oh, wow.
Very cool.
So back in Season 3, Shifter's main mid laner was pretty much Ahri. And he is one of the few to continue to play her. A lot of people have been picking the Twisted Fate into Nidalee, but as we saw in the last game, and not always a solid initiation, he'll be dive buddying with the Nocturne. Ahri Nocturne used to be a classic composition of you use these two ultimates and you kill whoever you want on the map, generally
Peter,
speaking.
Charm, done.
Yep. And that... bit more, especially when he goes with the Thresh because he does the Health Crystal into early Sightstone. The level 1 counter invade threat of Dignitas will be very high if they were to continue to group up, because KiwiKid could of course have that pass through grasping roots. But they are doing the defensive line, which actually indicates we have a pretty good chance of getting standard lanes in this one.
I love it. Standard lane really showing how the teams are panning out. With all these changes, we've only really gotten to see how they play chaotically in 2v nuns and roaming around the map. It'll be really good to see how teams size up against each other. Believe it or not, the last time these two teams faced, Dignitas beat Cloud9 in 28 minutes and 11 seconds. That is their fastest loss ever playing in the NA LCS.
Yikes.
Fastest win for them was 25 minutes, so definitely not something that they want to have happen again. And they have the team that can poke their way to victory here if need be on the objectives. Cloud9 setting up for what may be a late invade here with the safety of some hooks.
Yeah, definitely moved all the way down here. Elimination gets to sweep out the one ward, which creates a lot of uncertainty on the Dignitas side. Most likely going to prompt the double blue buff invade and also a lane swap. It's been real interesting as well, trying to diagnose the Cloud9 struggles. Because let's be honest, this is a 5-4 team that was a 24-4 team last split. I was checking for a person. Threw it a little early. Yeah, a lot of it just has to do with Cloud9 has always been a team that relies very heavily on just overall map pressure. If you think back to when they first started playing, they were incredibly strong in the lanes, which meant Meteos could freely farm the jungle and power up and then gank very efficiently because his lanes were always winning. It's so easy to gank winning lanes. You're always at an advantage, and counter ganks come almost second nature, or even turret dives.
Right.
You come up and Ball's already winning the lane. All right, buddy, I'll help you out and dive that lane. But in the game right now, as you can see, there's a lot of jungle sharing going around. So the jungle isn't as individualized as Meteos would necessarily want it to be. You know, we see Crumbs and Zion Spartan sharing. Meteos has to share with Balls at this point, and both of them end up being very far behind. You add that to the fact that when we saw Cloud9 at All-Stars, their main strategy was ganking top lane again and again. They can't do that right now.
Right. We even heard Hai just recently speak about how they're kind of trying to correct the problems. And even if you know what the problem is, it doesn't mean you have the answer right away. He said, we're trying things, and sometimes they still don't work.
And Hai in particular has a lot of problems of his own right now. So much, like I said, of Cloud9's play is about overall map pressure. If one person makes a mistake, steps out of line, and dies, all map pressure is lost. And all the work the jungler, the top lane, the bottom lane, the support did is gone. And Hai has substantially more unanswered or somewhat random looking deaths than he ever has before.
Yeah.
And he's really just lost his consistency, which really hurts Cloud9 as a team.
Back to the early Dragons, courtesy of the 2v nuns. Looks like Cloud9 will pick up a little bit of this early gold, nothing substantial. They do get the timer, and they do get a lot of what Cloud9 loves is map control here for the next move onto the Dragon. So slow moving on this. Still the farm from Sneaky, 18 to 15 on what Cutie Pie is doing in the top lane. We're just going to be back to lane farming.
Yeah, and it's beneficial actually that Hai has picked this Nidalee, and they're not losing out on the early game invades. We just saw the EG versus COG game where Link was Nidalee in the mid lane and got very heavily punished by Elise early game jungling and by Twisted Fate Roam. But it's much more difficult to punish his Nocturne early game because Crumbs wants to basically farm up until level 6 before making his first big engagement, which does give Hai some time to trade farm without losing that much map pressure.
That's going to be good for Hai. He is known to be one of the mid laners to farm less, something he has said he doesn't put a huge priority on because of his roaming, but this will work out very good if he has to fall into that factor of the less farm.
Yeah, and speaking of the farm as well, touching on our featured matchup with Meteos versus Crumbs, even though Balls and Meteos have been jungling together, they're giving all of the last hits to Meteos. It's a very different style than what Zion Spartan and Crumbs are doing because those guys have been buddying up a while, and they're sharing the CS. So Crumbs, much more in the supportive style, trying to get Jax going, and Meteos, actually much more selfish right now, hoping to get some early game power on Lee Sin and Snowball himself for the team.
A mission right now. Cloud9 is looking to formulate ward coverage for pure knowledge on Crumbs, and then they can activate something a little later when they want to. Sneaky taking the pressure in the bottom lane because of all this aggression towards the top, but he stays safe, even with 3 roaming.
Yeah, the 3 roam gives some deep wards into the top lane of Dignitas.
Oh!
They're not going to be able to do much taking that kind of harass.
Definitely feeling pretty good on the side of Cutie Pie and Kiwi Kid. Trading damage in 2v1, and they're definitely getting the upper hand here. Sneaky's pushed off the turret, so this could help Cutie Pie quite a bit in the ways of farming up himself, and he's able to soak up the experience without being zoned out. Good grab.
Yeah, best friends, Crumbs and Zion Spark. They are following each other all over the place, using the buddy system, even in the lane. Wonder if they shove up one more wave and then just go back to jungling together. Finally, they might split up. Nope. Stay together.
Same thing on the other side. It looks like it's just pen pal day. They're doing what they can to keep it strong and keep everybody leveled up here. High looking pretty low on mana in the mid lane. He's got about a minute or so before he can even get his blue buff, so he's just holding strong. Shifter finally starting to put a little bit of harass on. Hasn't played Ahri in a while. Maybe rethinking a few of the timings, but feels comfortable on it now and starts hitting those orbs of deception.
Missing a few CS here and there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not been Shifter's strength, actually, is the absolute CS and laning. He's definitely avoided dying himself. Has gotten most of the kills in the LCS as well for mid laners.
It's one or the other, dude.
Yeah,
Can't
you can't have
every. Need it too.
He's not the perfect player yet. Definitely trying to work towards that. Shifter with a ton of potential.
Yeah.
A lot of one-on-one time coaching from Skara as well.
So his buy going back as they're getting pretty hard pushes on the lane there. Not so much High, obviously getting pushed into his turret, but Shifter going back with increments of gold, picks up an ability tome right there. A little more power for himself. And the pink wards start to come out from Dignitas as well. The early vision control that they oh so love. But look at C9. They've already started placing as we saw the early entry into that top side of the jungle.
A little bit of change of strategy as well. Shifters went for a sweeper before High. That almost never happened last split. High killed more wards than any other mid laner that split. But this time Shifter definitely trying to get more vision control. He needs to make sure he can sweep the brushes he's waiting for. The only way he generally gets kills is if he lands the charm, oftentimes from Fog of War when he's trying to catch High moving to a lane, and that's the main way he controls people on Ahri. So the sweeper is of utmost importance. It's just interesting that he got it before High. High did just switch it up though.
Nice max range orb, instantly putting on all the damage, but it's blue buff to no buff at this moment. High doing what he can to fend off mid lane. We've seen a lot less of that aggression from Crumbs. Said that would happen on Nocturne this game. We saw that kill happening just about first blood was 20 seconds from now in their first matchup. Let's see if they can actually calculate that. If Lemon Nation had Sneaky there, it might have been right on par with that time. Looks like everything's safe for now. Good spear from High, trying to trade back damage.
I believe Cloud9's blue buff should be respawning shortly. That's why he doesn't start. The junglers both started on the right side of the map and moved upwards, so to speak. So Shifter has this timing window of having blue buff or High doesn't, but it's going to be matched when High gets his. I actually wouldn't be surprised if either Crumbs tries to invade this blue buff to deny it, or if he tries to gank High the instant High gets the blue buff to try and double up on Shifter's blue buff time.
Whoa! Huge chunk of damage with the phosphorus hit as well as the Gatling on a bit of the shred there. Sneaky combining everything to work beautifully, and you can see the Fog of War game starting to be played by High from the side lanes. Getting a little bit of that damage towards Shifter if possible, but Shifter's playing it very well. He's pretty much just slaloming through the minions, always making sure he's got some protection.
Yeah, and now this game becomes a little bit about the blue buff. Crumbs didn't notice that he walked past a pink ward, so Cloud9 knows where he's gone, but they also don't have their jungler here, so they have to forfeit it for the turret.
Yeah, they have Zion Spartan moving down. Good pressure there. C9 answers with a bit of cash flow in the bottom lane. And this is great. Gonna shut down a bit of objective control. High is gonna be very low on mana as they approach this dragon in 5 seconds. I think he's gonna go for a little more than just that Foxfire, but it's the harass. The Nation getting himself in early. Sneaky's there. No. The damage we just saw onto Cutie Pie absolutely can't be taken by Kiwi Kid. They finalized the kill they were looking for. Now Dragon's in their favor.
Right, exactly. Right as it spawned, and that's just Meteor staying down bottom. The selfish farming he's done a little bit of, also giving his team the big-time objectives. Now the second Dragon they're going to be able to take, as well as the turret, as Crumbs was off securing blue buffs, but lost the big objectives. He wants to do something here, though.
The Valkyrie's there. He gets a flash from Lemon Nation over the wall. Good guy support, pulling out the plays. And Crumbs still got to give him credit for trying to get that quick kill out. Yep. Nothing coming from
Burned everything. Sneaky also did. But the Dragons, the turrets, starting to mount, actually, for Cloud9. Even the lanes are doing pretty well for them at the moment. And with the one Nocturne ult already being burned, they didn't sync it up with the Ahri ultimate. They have not secured the kill that you kind of rely upon with that Nocturne. But the good news is he ulted with a blue buff, and there's a very, very long rank 1 cooldown on that Nocturne ultimate. So with the blue buff, it will be 121 seconds. That's the reduced one, and he's got 90 seconds left. But all the flashes of Cloud9's bottom lane were burned.
Right.
Very likely the Crumbs goes bottom for another big gank and tries to pick up a double kill.
They definitely have the counter crowd control if they need it with Kiwi Kid back up. Elimination towards the top lane, however, as we're looking at some Cloud9 movement here. Walking through a bit of a ward will be seen. You can see Zion Spartan kind of playing this one safe, but I don't know if it's going to be safe enough. It's about to be 3v1. Or not. Maybe not.
Cloud9 decided to back off. They saw the ward. They saw the ward over the wall, and they thought kind of better. Diving at Jax is very difficult, as well as when they don't have a total knowledge of where the backup's going to arrive from.
Shutting down a higher priority target is going to be the agenda right now, and the hook onto Shifter. The patience from Lemon Nation to watch for the first Spirit Rush, and then know there's a slight cooldown. Hooks it in. Crumbs is going to be in some danger here. The pounces, the swipes, scratching his eyes out. High finally pulls up the kill onto Crumbs' Nocturne, and Cutie Pie's already running out of lane, getting a little tossed back and forth. Lemon Nation's going to be there. He's going to dodge the culling back and forth, and they're going to be forced out of this one. Relentless pursuit, dodge the death sentence.
Only the 4th game of 10 where Shifter has died. And it's happened pretty early on here. Cloud9 assuming control. Meteos' Lee Sin is really been a big factor here.
One more.
Yeah, it was a fantastic dodge of the play right there by Lemon Nation, but
waiting on that rush.
You got to dodge both of them at that time, and they finish him off pretty easily once they land that death sentence. Now Cloud9 can push out mid because they've really burned Dignitas out of a lot of power.
This is really working out when Cloud9 is getting these kills as well. The assists are just falling left and right to members that are roaming around with the team. That power play by Cloud9 has put them up 4,000 gold now, 3 kills, and they open up the first turret of the game in bot lane as there's been a bit of running around that happened a bit ago.
Yeah, and we have to pay very close attention to the frequency of fights in this game, because the more frequent the fights become, the better Cloud9 is. They do not have to wait on their ultimate cooldowns necessarily. Lee Sin is incredibly strong without his ultimate, as well as Nidalee, who just swaps forms and can throw spears every few seconds, whereas Shifter needs his Spirit Rush to do big work, and Crumbs needs his Paranoia to make big things happen. Even when they're using those skills, they're still losing the engagement. So the pressure advantage is absolutely in the favor of Cloud9, as long as they don't have any of those random deaths that have been plaguing them throughout their defeats.
Constant windows to fight in, even playing very strong with the summoner spells down as they go into some of these engagements. Very, very ahead of the game right now. Cloud9 trying to put on some more damage. High with that blue buff is just wreaking havoc on this turret, and Dignitas cannot answer back. Crumbs waiting on the wing. His ultimate is up. This is going to be scary if the team cannot close in as quick.
Really wanting to get this fight. High putting himself in a bit of a danger zone. But Crumbs not wanting to burn it because he would just be diving into a 4v4.
Right.
And they're not actually stronger than Cloud9 right now.
Bam! On the outside, High hitting another one. Repeat of the hits with the spears coming out of High. The javelins are just hitting left and right. A charm cannot be followed up on by Shifter as he crests it just outside a minion range. Wow, these are going to be doing big damage. Look how squishy they are.
Spirit Rush burned by Shifter. No ultimate on Ahri. This means Dignitas' initiation potential is basically non-existent, and let the siege continue. That's why Zion Spartan is coming down bottom. They're really needing to push Cloud9 off of this immediately.
This is like a flip side of the first time these two teams played. Like I said, it was a fast game, but Cloud9 is just looking to beat down the doors of Dignitas' front line of turrets here. 15 minutes in, almost hitting another Spirit max range. Probably would have taken down Kiwi Kid. He's in a dangerous spot, and just look at all the bushwhacks as well. Run in the wrong spot, and you're giving vision to your whole team behind that turret.
And with the Corki as well, spamming the missiles, it's just too much to dodge. There's too many things to keep track of. They're clearing the wave so quickly and get so many free shots at Dignitas. It's an indefensible turret for them at this point with the blue buff in.
Beautifully played poke composition coming out from Cloud9, and they just push Dignitas off the turret with little to no pressure and damage. Really just causing Dig to use ultimates sporadically out of being scared.
Dignitas kind of has left here is the strength of Zion Spartan and the hope that Crumbs can get a big ultimate off.
That's true. We haven't seen much of him.
Crumbs had that window where his Paranoia was up and the flashes of Sneaky and Elimination were down, but that window has passed. They have still yet to be able to synchronize the ultimates of Ahri and Nocturne. They're still sitting at 0 kills with a pick composition 15 minutes in. So things are actually very grim for Dignitas right now.
We'll see what they can do. Assessing now how strong Cloud9 is. We get a glance at the top lane. Level 10s and Zion, Spartan, and Balls. We're kind of saying that Balls hasn't been living up to what his expectations were of the summer, or the spring split, I should say. A lot more kills, a lot more control over his lane. Very even here on the top side. Nobody has that advantage.
Exactly. You wouldn't believe it if after the All-Stars or after the spring split you said after 9 games, Balls would have fewer kills than every other LCS top laner.
Right.
But that's actually the case right now. He is very much been denied farm, and because Cloud9 has been struggling as a team, they're not finding the team fight ability for him, and he's just kind of trapped.
Would always be that last man to dive in with Dragon's Descent and clean up 2 or 3 kills. Make sure the 2 or 3 kills are secured as well. We're trying to formulate that right now. He's in the top lane still against Zion. Haven't seen too many teleport plays either. It's been the power of 4 from each team, and right now C9's is stronger.
Dignitas doesn't seem to have an answer to this siege. They're trying to just have Zion, Spartan farm up in the top lane and hope that the power of Jax versus Jabana will be enough. But they either need to find a clean initiation onto Cloud9 or have Zion, Spartan teleport in for 5-4 because they are just getting destroyed in this siege game.
Oh, PewDiePie, this is getting dangerous. Almost getting a few plays in. Wow, very nice spear predicted by High on that one. Looks like they're going to get all the pressure they need.
They poked enough as well so that Dignitas couldn't counter-engage that. One of the biggest things you can't do as a poke team is corner yourself at an objective. This time, Cloud9 didn't go for the objective until they had landed poke, which made it safe.
And not get yourself pinched into that melee range. Just missing the charm. Shifter trying to use his minions as a little bit of cover for his abilities. Almost catches High off guard there. Looks like Crumbs again trying for High in the mid lane. Very slippery, niddly, and just the magician at escaping these ganks. High's going to keep it safe. 1-0 and 1 for him. Shifter yet to come up with some kills in a game. They're making sure he's not getting what he wants, and he's been a key to Dig wins.
Crumbs is hoping that this dive works. They're running out of options at this point. Unless they snowball Zion, Spartan and make it so Jax can take on 2 or 3 people, they're losing this game. But even then, there wasn't a big enough edge in that lane at the time. Now that they've landed a bit of poke, expect the Nocturnal probably with the next wave.
That's the HP they're looking at. He hits the Dustbringer to start, and it's almost a little too early. And he alerts Balls to that situation. The teleport's used there in the top lane, but that's both laners, so this is Zion. Maybe could get a lead.
And this is why map pressure overall is so critical to Cloud9's success. When they went for Balls, because they have the mid lane already pushed up, they can make a move in the mid lane. But the wave clear actually does come out from Dignitas here, and the Nocturne ultimate is still up. A little bit of danger here if Dignitas wants to initiate.
They have that ward just on the side of Wraith. Tower's gonna go down. A great ult from Kiwi Kid, but it's really to keep the rest of the team safe as he goes down. An ultimate, whoa! Pulls up to Meteos on the safeguard. They try to get the sneaky, but he flashes, actually heals himself and gets to a safe position with Valkyrie. Still looking at Shifter for some damage on this one, but it's a Kiwi and Crumbs down at the beginning of the fight.
Dignitas is so hesitant to pull the trigger. At this moment, they were caught on Kiwi Kid. He had people locked up in a Stranglethorns, and Crumbs walked. Then after the death happened, he decided to ult in right as the turret dies. You Nocturne ult right now if you're going to do an initiation. Once you've given up the kill, you do not decide to do it after the fact, because at this point, Cloud9 has recovered from the peel. They are no longer suffering from the knockup, and they can focus their full attention on the Crumbs. Also, their cooldowns are back, because we talked about the frequency of fights. They killed one, they let the cooldowns refresh, Cloud9 killed them again, and Cloud9 is just in complete control.
We'll see if Dig can make any more moves. They're going to have to push themselves outside their comfort zone to do it. Cloud9 on top of this game and can pretty much do whatever they want. 69% to 31 coming in on this one as the Cloud9 fans begin to back.
Dignitas is such a weird team. Not in the physical sense, but in the gameplay. Because they're so inconsistent. Why do you see this play out of Dignitas? One day, they play flawlessly. They destroy Cloud9, and they have this air of confidence, especially when you talk to them. And then they come into this game, and they haven't made a single solid play in 20 minutes. Not something you would expect from a team that, if they win this, they are in sole control of first place in the LCS. It is just very confusing.
Definitely shaking their confidence. Things like this not helping as well. The whatever it would be, we thought the last grace for the team to come out on top is already being focused. Now Zion Spartan goes down. Try to solo invade the jungle.
Yeah, they're not playing as a team. Whatever happened between today and yesterday, because they were great, flashes in a straight line through the corridor to get hooked. And now they're basically relying on Crump's flash smiting this solo. He's going to try for it, I think.
Warding is deadly. I think we can take that from that last play now as Baron going down very, very low. 2,900 health. Baron healed up a little bit there to 3,000, but they're still trying to get a bit of damage. A good calling from Cutie Pie. This is Dig now trying to throw back their DPS before the fight starts. And it looks like it actually worked this time. Gaining a little ground there. They still have a long way to go before they can start initiating more.
Cooler minds prevail in the Baron right there.
Yeah.
Dignitas had landed a good amount of poke, and Cloud9 realized they only had one person dead. High actually gets caught out though!
That is exactly what they needed. Cloud9 feeling a little too sure of their positioning after disregarding the Baron attempt, and Dignitas takes hold of that instance.
Finally, Dignitas pulls off a good play, and that was all because Cloud9 overreached a little bit with that Baron attempt, and instead of immediately backing after the Baron, they continued to think they had control of the map. But when they spent so much time as 5 people around the Baron pit, they lost that control, and that's why High got picked off by Dignitas.
So we did lose mid, but you get top. We have to consider that not actually a lot of summoners were blown as Lemon Nation and High went down. So with those champions there, good on Zion Spartan to grab another turret. They're still 5,000 gold behind, but seeing that damage out of Cutie Pie and seeing the movement there by Dig, they may be giving Cloud9 a second thought.
Yep. So signs of life, absolutely. You can see Zion Spartan with his Blade of the Ruin King as well. They need him to become that split push force. He still has his teleport. Surprisingly, Cloud9 right back at the Baron. They are very focused on controlling this area. They know Dignitas just went back as well, and they're hoping Dignitas is afraid to check because Cloud9 has been so focused on getting picks previously that maybe they can scare them back. That one hook by Lemon is going to delay things, but when they realize he has no backup, and when they take that spear, they know.
Crumbs is on it. They put way too many wards down to even be swept out. They're really relying on Meteos to be able to smite this down. 2,500 on Baron, and it looks like they once again back off. Cloud9 having the less health once again.
Hey,
very strange.
Dignitas knows all about what happens when teams overreach for Baron. Dignitas has lost more games than any other team, probably in the world, while trying to do Baron. So Cloud9 kind of risking the same threat right here, but disengaging whenever they try to do so. So Dignitas very experienced in knowing how to stop that, actually.
Oh, no! Woo. Like an up shot to the leg.
He is so weak.
Gets out with 1 HP.
Level 8 Kiwi Kid, only health item is a Sight Stone. And High has a death gap, oh dear.
I think everybody winced on that. You know it hurts when you're wincing at home. You're not even playing the game. 24 minutes on the clock. Cloud9 finally walking onto the front steps. Feeling pretty controlled here as they have Dignitas members almost surrounding them. It looks like they'll be able to get out of this one safely. Shifter is going to be backing. Haven't looked at items that much. The threshold of High on the Rabadons and the Athenes a lot bigger than Shifter as he tries to build the Rabadon. Still a little bit behind.
If he gets the Void Staff on Italy as well,
yeah, he's almost there.
Huge break point. High has had a fantastic Italy game. 2 great Italy games actually when he's played it. The fact that Meteos is almost at randoms as well will make initiating much easier. He'd be able to tank up the culling shots just by himself. And also the Trinity Force being completed is a big power spike for Sneaky against Diamond Cutie Pie. Bloodthirster plus Trinity Force, in my opinion, is the strongest moment in the game for Corki. Because he has so much trouble splitting his magic damage and physical damage. Building penetration is very difficult for him. But just having the straight up damage item before people have been able to itemize for either armor or MR, Corki's incredibly strong right now.
Oh, they're pushing back up mid. You can see Sneaky always with his Zerker boots on that Corki. Some go for Sork. He loves to go for the auto attacks along with the rest of the team. Well, Meteos traveling a little bit farther than he wanted there, but if your eyes and you did not blink stayed on Meteos, he's back to safety somehow.
He's safeguarding onto a lantern.
Yep.
The fastest way to jump across the map. Split push happening once again. Teleport on both top laners and a siege happening from Cloud9. This is kind of back to what got Cloud9 here. Their sieges were so successful when they were able to land enough spears, and balls could hold off Zion Spartan. He will not be able to do that forever. So these sieges actually do have to work for Cloud9 in order for them to close out this game.
Cloud9 definitely buying a lot of time with Zion Spartan not being big out of the laning phase. That scaling is going to come quite fast if they start knocking down more turrets and get an influx of gold, but Cloud9 is also playing safe enough to not give Dignitas too many kills back into this game. Those 2 we were talking about were just as we almost prodded Dignitas to try more. They found that after a Cloud9 disengage, but now back to the stalemate. Back to, is Cloud9 going to make another mistake? And if they don't, where does Dig stand?
And you know what, Rick? We've seen a lot of stalemates like that, like this week in particular, especially with Jax in the game. All these teams have this mindset that if they stall out enough and they can get Jax to late game, that everything is just going to kind of fix itself. But this week we haven't been seeing the Jax winning whatsoever. Just because you have a farm Jax doesn't mean you can win late game team fights if the rest of your team is behind. So what's incredibly important for Dignitas to focus on right now is while they do have to keep Zion farming, they have to make sure that the rest of their team doesn't fall behind as a result of that. Because the collective strength of the team will still be in favor of Cloud9 if the gold lead just continues to increase for them.
When we look at our featured matchup, Meteos has definitely played a stronger game than Crumbs this time around. The flip side from our last game where Crumbs controlled the game, it's really been Meteos back and forth. 2-0-4, he's participated in every kill on the map.
Yeah, and the Lee Sin has been massive for him. So many, actually, of these jungle games this week in the NALCS have been trending in the side of the jungler who builds a Sightstone. The team control that seems to happen off the back of that. Obviously, Lee Sin can take better use of it than most other junglers.
Absolutely.
But it's really just helping the teams find the poke opportunities and control the objectives.
Cloud9 has seemed to iron out whatever their problems were from last week's games, from a bit of yesterday. Ooh, Crumbs, good spell shield there. That was actually the Dragon's Rage. That was the kick for Meteos on his ultimate, and that was canceled out.
He wouldn't have even kicked him backwards at the time of his ward jump.
So let's apply damage and get pressure for the Baron. They got the pink ward down on it. Let the Samba begin.
Seen this story before. Cloud9.
Choose your own adventure book, remember?
Yeah. At least Ty has a Void Staff now. So if they land the spear while doing this game, especially if they can land it on a Kiwi kid, who has about one spear as far as his life bar is concerned.
Duly noted. We got to see that just a little bit ago. So surpassing now at 28-11. This is when the previous matchup between these teams ended. Dignitas was taking down the Nexus right now. Not the case this game. They are on the back foot trying to hold off Cloud9, but Cloud9 has also not really been able to find anything past that inhibitor turret. They're not getting the pokes on. They're not getting the pressure they want on the turret.
Absolutely not. With the death cap on his shifter, he's more of a threat when he dives in with the arc.
Yeah. Oh. All right. Never mind, guys. You can see high from lane to lane with the team. It looks like they're going to pressure the bottom turret using that insecurity of the area around it. Oh, actually, Shifter almost hitting a very nice charm under the turret would have gave Zion Spartan a great engage. So you can see just what Dig is trying to formulate on these fights. PewDiePie forced to use the culling. It's cut short. The Flay comes in and he is forced out of the fight. A very nice hit by Meteos. Waits on the resonating strike. Here comes Crumbs. This is going to be big, but again, the team cannot pull the trigger and follow up on Crumbs. Cloud9 turns this one around instantly. Shifter goes for a dash after he hits the charm, but there's not enough damage to have it. It's the true damage coming in from the Zyra passive, but it's not going to kill anybody. Kiwi Kid just sits there, and it's C9 in the base now at Dignitas.
Ends as a 3-4-1 because Cloud9 did find the fight they necessarily needed. It wasn't a spear that started it, but instead a death sentence.
Wow.
And it was a spear that ended it when they managed to finish off Zion Spartan on the backside. They finally cracked the code of Dignitas. Get their first inhibitor.
Dig needs to spread out there, just a little steppage. Actually, watching this one more time.
It's the danger of trying to wave
down the
clear
calling
with Death Sentence as well. It was a good Zyra ultimate. It almost turned when High was a little bit low, but then Crumbs just didn't have the strength as of yet. And all the damage turned on him immediately because there isn't enough tankiness because of the gold lead that Cloud9 has been able to put up right now. And then the chase of Cloud9 is just there because of the Nidalee Spears.
Cloud9 now cleaning up the rest of the map. They feel pretty secure about any movements they have right now. Dignitas is rushing right now towards the Baron area, making sure they can get whatever control they can get without it being seen by Cloud9. Not going to matter much because Cloud9 is going to walk in and sweep everything out. With the strength they have, they can pretty much put up their dukes, and Dignitas will just start walking backwards.
Yeah, and the inhibitor that Cloud9 killed is the absolute most valuable inhibitor in the game for the blue team to kill. because the super minions that push that wave are the farthest away from the Baron pit that you can get. So at the moment, yes, Silent Spartan does have his teleport. If they can burn the teleport, it means basically a Baron, or at least a Baron steal attempt for Cloud9, because the defender would have to be there while Cloud9 is doing the Baron.
4 sweepers out for Cloud9 right now, that last one. The trinket's still on Sneaky. The pink ward's still to be laid down. They don't even want them on their side of the map. They know they won't be there that long. They're just getting the minions ready for the last push of what they hope goes into the base of Dignitas. Dig, you can see down the line of their scoreboard, maybe the first time that every lane has really fallen behind. And you can see how it affects Dig towards the late game. Now backing off with the presence from Cloud9 face-to-face in mid lane, but Kiwi Kid not on the same page there. Throws down the ultimate, and now Dig is kind of filing in one after the other. There's a 1v1 with Cutie Pie and Meteos on the bottom side. He's gonna get hit up, and Meteos solos that out. The fly in here from Sneaky as he Valkyries in for the fire and the kill. A double kill coming in for him, and they just dissect Dignitas in the middle of the map.
Yep, Silent Spartan wasn't involved in that fight. So even though Dignitas decided to dive in, it wasn't clean. It wasn't clean in the slightest. They did kill high, but they burned absolutely everything for it. That was that Nocturne Ari. Hey, they can kill one target.
Right.
What about the other 4?
Where's the
because
follow-up?
Cloud9 destroyed them in the rest of that team fight. Big gold lead and a very messy initiation by Dig. Looks like inhibitor number 2.
Big game coming in here for Cloud9. Definitely turning the table on things, and definitely turning the table on the vote the fans made. Cloud9 coming up big on that vote as well, with Dignitas winning the vote in the beginning of the game. Certainly seeing that Cloud9 is coming together as a team.
So as soon as they landed the Stranglethorns, they're like, all right, we should absolutely
Right.
go. Both top laners had teleport up. Shyvana teleports in. Jax does not. That could have been critical in the middle of this fight, but when you also realize Meteos basically soloed I'm a Cutie Pie, it may have been a wasted teleport nonetheless. And because the kill wasn't instant upon the initiation, really the fact that Dignitas all in was not good.
14,000 gold lead on the board, 7-3 in turrets. 4 more stay on the map right now for Dig. And it's going to be the ones that Cloud9 wants to take down. If they go all the way around the horn, it will be from the top side in, because they have that map opened up so well. Dignitas has been scrambling really the whole time. I don't think we've seen him in this form.
No. And this also does have a lot to do with how well Cloud9 is playing.
That absolutely.
Every single time Cloud9 loses, whenever you ask another team, what about Cloud9? Maybe they're struggling. Every team says, calm down, guys, they're still Cloud9. And they're showing why.
Right.
It's just inconsistency for Cloud9. They still have these really good games, but from a week-to-week basis, it's when they begin to fall off. This is kind of the Cloud9 of old. Even though they did do the buddy system at the start while Balls and Meteos were sharing everything, they gave a lot more of it to Meteos and allowed him to impact the game as he saw fit, which is the freedom that he really liked having in the spring split and the 2013 season. Outside of that, they've just been opportunistic and generally not making individual mistakes, so that when they collapse as a team, they can stay together and not map pressure.
Teamwork is definitely something Cloud9 brought into the LCS with 2 titles under their name, champions of 2 splits. Now looking to be the champion of this game here in week 4 as they put down a very nice performance. Just look at all the damage Balls can take for free and still be okay to stay in the fight. The team just brushes it off, and they're going to set up again.
Yep, good old Nidalee heals as well. Plus the Baron regen gives them all the staying power they need. They clean up that middle inhibitor, and textbook move right here. They're going to be going for inhibitor number 3. Expect Crumbs to try and be the wave savior on the other side and ult in when the fight happens, but he's so weak, they're going to focus him immediately, and with that poke, not much Dig can do.
You know the spears are coming. You'd have 34 minutes to dodge and be prepared to dodge them, but High is still making them connect no matter what. 12-4 in the game. It's kind of amazing to think that Dig has only been able to get 4 kills out of Cloud9 here in this 34-minute matchup, and the Nexus turret's now in the eyes of Cloud9 at 35 minutes. It's looking grim for Dig. May try one go for broke attempt. The counter-strike is thwarted out. Doesn't even jump in from
Well,
Silent
they're
Spartan.
so low at this point, they're basically just feeding kills if they decide to go in. Cloud9 in complete control, pushing the Nexus.
Absolutely staring Dignitas straight in the eyes as they take down their Nexus turrets. They're gonna start to make the scramble for it. They are able to take down High. He's not the biggest one to take down the Nexus, but he is gonna be the one that would be delivering the heals. A good kill going down into Shifter, and I'm a Cutie Pie. Ball's now going out of the Nexus. He's not gonna have enough to take it down. They may have extended the game just a little bit on this one. Here, actually huge. I go to correct myself. Meteos and Ball somehow not dying just yet, but I don't think they'll have enough to end the game here.
Dignitas does actually hold them off with that fight. There was a little bit of split focus by Cloud9, some on the turrets, some on the team fight. And now it's actually Crumbs and Kiwi Kid versus the world as they try to stop these super minions from killing the Nexus.
Oh my
gosh! It's a tough fight.
Oh my gosh, no! Wait a minute. They got spawns coming out. They just had 5 seconds ago a minion wave spawn. They should be all right. That was super close. I'm sure they were.
Zion is a little
He
low.
could die if he gets hit by super minions.
This is a
They have more than one fight to go at. Oh, no!
No!
Balls goes in! 36 minutes into the game. You gotta be kidding me. Balls flashes in for the twin bite on the Nexus. Gets himself 50 extra gold. And Cloud9 takes down Dignitas.
It was only a matter of time by the end of that game. But really, what a performance by Cloud9 through the very start to the end of that game. They controlled it from very first blood. They killed Shifter 2 times, which is double the amount that any other team has been able to kill him. And they pick up a very important win for themselves over Dignitas, who was in first place.
They crippled Dignitas in that game.
They really did.
They did not allow Dig to really breathe. Kiwi Kid was the instant focus of every fight because he went down in the blink of an eye. And it was like a few auto attacks on to the next one. Great control over the map. The last time these two teams played, Dignitas lived in Cloud9's jungle. I don't think they got a chance to set foot there.
No, it was a complete role reversal from the first matchup these guys had. What a week in the North American LCS as well, because Dignitas and LQ, they were the first place teams coming in today. They both lost, and they're the first place team still. I mean, just because everyone is so close, you know? But it's not by any means a one-horse league like it used to be. Cloud9, and last split was Cloud9 and TSM. This split, Cloud9 and TSM are better, but boy, there is a logjam in the standings.
Yeah, and very big smiles on the faces of Cloud9. A lot of wins this week kind of showed teams with a smile instead of kind of that remorse that the game was tough, but they won. There's still things to learn from that. We had some good wins this week, a lot of shakeups, and right now we're going to send it